After my family cut me off for being a single mom, I won the lottery. Suddenly they wanted me back, but my answer shattered them. The day my parents disowned me, rain poured down, not the sweet kind that feels cleansing, but the cold, relentless downpour that cuts straight to the bone. Looking back, it was the perfect storm for what was about to unfold. Can you imagine being disowned by your own family, thrown out of your home, just for choosing to be a mother? That's what happened to me. They looked me in the eye, told me I was ruining my life, and then 8 years later, after ignoring my son and they tried to buy their way back when I won $47 million. But they had no idea who they were truly dealing with. Stick around, because my story isn't just about a lottery win. It's about a loyalty test, a shattering realization, and finding a family I never knew I had. My name is Julia. I was 22, and I thought I had my whole life figured out. I was wrong about a lot of things, but not about the choice that changed everything. You're keeping it? Mom's voice cracked, like she'd been slapped. The pregnancy test sat between us on the kitchen counter like a bomb about to detonate. What about medical school? What about your future? She demanded. I can do both. I insisted, my hand instinctively moving to my still flat stomach. Other women manage it. Dad slammed his coffee mug down, so hard I jumped. Other women have husbands. Julia, where's the father? He's not in the picture, I said quietly, and he won't be. Mom's laugh was hollow, cynical. Of course he won't be, because you won't tell us who he is. For all we know, you don't even know. Don't. My voice was sharper than I intended. Don't finish that sentence. This isn't how we raised you, Dad said, pacing the kitchen like a caged animal. This isn't what we sacrificed everything for. Coming to this country, working ourselves to the bone, just so you could throw it all away. I'm not throwing anything away. I cried. I can still be a doctor. I can still. Mom cut in, her voice flat. You can't. Not like this. Not alone. The silence that followed was deafening. I watched their faces, faces I'd known and loved my whole life, transform into masks of disappointment and disgust. There's a solution, Dad said finally, his voice chillingly calm. A simple one. Then you can continue with your life as planned. I knew what he meant. My hand pressed harder against my stomach. No. Then you leave us no choice. Mom's voice was ice. If you insist on ruining your life, you won't do it under our roof. You won't do it with our support. You're throwing me out. The words felt foreign, alien in my mouth. You're choosing to leave, Dad corrected, his gaze hard. By choosing this mistake over your family. 8 years later, I still remember every agonizing detail of that day. The rain drumming against the windows, the bitter smell of Dad's coffee going cold, the sound of my own footsteps on the stairs as I packed what little I could carry. My friend Penelope, who was already a single mom herself, struggling but surviving, took me in that first night. They'll come around, she said, holding me while I cried. Once they meet their grandchild, they'll change their minds. But they didn't. Walker was born on a Tuesday morning, all red-faced and perfect. I sent them pictures, unopened, birthday cards, Christmas cards, updates about his first steps, his first words. Nothing. Zero response. I finished medical school, somehow between student loans, part-time jobs, and endless nights of studying while Walker slept. It wasn't the way I'd planned, but I made it work. Mommy, look. Walker's voice snapped me back to the present 8 years later. He was waving a drawing from his art class, all bright colors and crooked lines. It's us. I smiled at the two stick figures, one tall, one small, holding hands. No empty spaces where grandparents should be. Walker had never known any different. It's beautiful, baby, I said, pinning it to our cramped apartment's fridge, right next to his perfect spelling test from last week. Can we have pizza tonight? He asked, already moving on to his next thought the way only 8-year-olds can. Not tonight, sweetie. Remember, we're being careful with money this month. The heating bill had been higher than expected, and my residence salary only stretched so far. He nodded, used to these conversations. That's okay. I like your spaghetti better. Anyway, I hugged him tight, breathing in the scent of crayons and playground dirt that always seemed to follow him home. Sometimes I wondered if my parents knew what they were missing. This beautiful, kind, brilliant little boy who made every struggle worth it. That evening, while Walker did his homework, I decided to finally clean out my winter coat pockets before donating it. It barely fit anymore, and Penelope knew someone who needed one. My fingers brushed against something in the left pocket, a forgotten lottery ticket from months ago. I almost threw it away, but Walker looked up from his math problems and smiled at me, that same smile that had given me strength through countless sleepless nights and empty bank accounts. And I thought, asterisk, why not check? What's the worst that could happen? Asterisk, I had no idea then how that simple decision would change everything yet again. Mom, why are you staring at your phone like that? Walker's voice seemed to come from far away. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process the numbers on my screen matching the crumpled ticket in my hand. Baby, go get Aunt Penelope from next door. Right now. He must have heard something in my voice because he ran without questioning. Moments later, Penelope burst in, still wearing her nursing scrubs. Julia, what's wrong? I wordlessly handed her my phone and the ticket. She looked back and forth between them 3 times before her eyes went wide. Holy sh asterisk T, she whispered, quickly covering her mouth and glancing at Walker. Is this real? I managed. I don't know. I can't think straight. $47 million, Penelope read out loud. After taxes, Julia, you're still looking at over $20 million. Walker tugged at my sleeve. Are we rich now, Mommy? I pulled him into my lap, my hands shaking. I don't know yet, sweetie. We need to make sure this is real first. The next few hours passed in a blur. The lottery office confirmed it. It was real. They connected me with a financial advisor named Alec, who spoke in calm, measured tones that helped ground me. The first thing you need to do is tell absolutely no one, Alec said during our emergency meeting that afternoon. Not your colleagues, not your neighbors. No one except those who already know. What about my family? I asked, then laughed bitterly. Never mind. They haven't spoken to me in 8 years. Alec's eyes softened. That might change once news gets out. Money has a way of bringing people out of the woodwork. He wasn't wrong. The very next day, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Julia, sweetheart. My mother's voice, so familiar yet so strange, made my stomach clench. We saw you on the news. I gripped the phone tighter. Did you? We've been thinking about you. About Walker. We miss you both so much. 8 years, I said, my voice trembling. 8 years of silence. And now you miss us. We were wrong, she said quickly. We know that now. Your father and I, we've changed. We want to make things right. I closed my eyes, remembering countless nights of crying myself to sleep, of explaining to Walker why he had no grandparents at his school events. Penelope stood in my doorway, concern etched on her face. She'd taken the day off to help me deal with everything. You okay? I covered the phone. It's my mother. Penelope's expression hardened. She knew everything they'd put me through. She'd been there for every tear, every struggle, every moment they should have been. We'd love to see you, Mom was saying. And Walker, your father's already talking about making up for lost time. We could have dinner this weekend. I'll think about it. I said finally, Please do, sweetheart. We love you. We always have. After I hung up, Penelope handed me a cup of coffee. You're not seriously considering it, are you? I don't know. I stared into the cup. Part of me wanted to believe they'd really changed, and the other part wanted to tell them exactly where they could shove their sudden desire to reconcile. Walker came home from school then, bursting with energy. Mom, did you tell Grandma and Grandpa about the money? Can they come visit now? My heart broke a little. Of course he'd want grandparents. What child wouldn't? How about we focus on our plans first? I said, pulling him close. Remember what we talked about? His face lit up. A house with a backyard and a dog. That's right. I kissed his forehead. And you staying in your same school with all your friends. Later that night, after Walker was asleep, I sat with Alex's business card in one hand and my phone in the other. My mother had called 3 more times. Whatever you're thinking, Penelope said, joining me on the couch, remember how strong you've been without them. Remember who was there when Walker had pneumonia last year, who helped you study for your boards, who actually cares about you, not your bank account. My phone buzzed again, a text from my father this time. We should discuss your future plans. I know some excellent investment advisors. I showed it to Penelope, who snorted. Of course he does. You know what? I said, something hardening in my chest. I will meet with them. Not to reconcile. I clarified. I want to look them in the eyes when they try to manipulate their way back into my life. I want to see exactly what they're planning. And then what? I thought about Walker's drawing on the fridge, our perfect family of 2, about all the other single mothers out there, struggling like I had, about karma and justice, and the power to finally stand up for myself. And then I said, I'm going to make them regret every single day they pretended we didn't exist. The restaurant they chose was exactly the kind of place they'd always loved, all crystal glasses and white tablecloths. I deliberately wore jeans and a sweater, watching my mother's slight as I sat down. Julia, darling, she said, reaching for my hand. I pulled back before she could touch me. You look healthy. Dad cleared his throat. Where is Walker? We were hoping to meet him. He's with Penelope, I said. I wanted to talk to you both first. That woman, Mom muttered, then caught herself. I mean, it's good you have friends. A waiter appeared with water and menus. My parents ordered wine. I asked for coffee. So, Dad said, leaning forward, we've been doing a lot of thinking about the past, about mistakes made on all sides. On all sides. I interrupted. What mistakes did I make exactly? Having a baby? Raising him alone? Being successful despite you abandoning us? Now, Julia, Mom started, but a new voice cut in. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible. A man in an expensive suit appeared at our table. Julia, this is Xerxes. Dad said, he's our lawyer. We thought it might be helpful to have him here to discuss arrangements. I stared at them. They brought a lawyer to lunch, just to help facilitate. Xerxes said smoothly, pulling out a chair. Your parents have been working on a comprehensive plan for family reunification. He pulled out a folder and started spreading documents across the table. My coffee arrived, and I wrapped my hands around the warm cup, watching the surreal scene unfold. We've drafted a proposal, Mom said eagerly, a way to make up for lost time. We could set up a trust for Walker, of course. And there's the matter of the family business. What family business? I asked. The one we're going to start. Dad said, together. We've already looked at some properties with your new resources and our experience. Stop. My voice was quiet, but firm. Just stop. They all fell silent, looking at me with varying degrees of confusion. Julia, Xerxes said, your parents are trying to build bridges here. Perhaps if you looked at the proposals. Did they tell you how they kicked me out when I was pregnant? How they ignored every letter, every photo, every attempt I made to contact them for 8 years? Xerxes shifted uncomfortably. Mom jumped in quickly. We've apologized for that, darling. We were wrong. We want to make it right. Make it right. I laughed. By bringing a lawyer to ambush me? By making plans for my money before even asking how your grandson is doing? Now, that's not fair. Dad started, but I stood up. I need to use the restroom. In the hallway, near the bathrooms, I leaned against the wall, taking deep breaths. Then I heard voices around the corner. Can't rush her too fast, Xerxes was saying. We need her to trust us before we suggest the investment structure. 8 years we waited. Mom's voice replied, we're not missing this opportunity once we get control of the accounts. Eliza, Dad interrupted. Someone's coming. I slipped into the bathroom. Before they could see me, my hands shaking as I gripped the sink. My phone buzzed, a text from Penelope. Walker wants to know if he's meeting his grandparents today. I looked in the mirror, seeing the hope in my son's eyes reflected in my memory. Then I remembered my mother's words. Once we get control of the accounts. Taking a deep breath, I texted back. No, but I think it's time to move forward with Plan B. When I returned to the table, I wore a carefully neutral expression. Sorry about earlier, I said, sitting down. This is all just overwhelming. Their faces lit up with poorly concealed triumph. Of course it is, sweetheart. Mom cooed. That's why you need family. Why don't you come over this weekend? Bring Walker. We can discuss everything properly. Actually, I said, I have a better idea. Why don't you come to my place next Friday? I'm having a small gathering. Some friends, some business associates. It would be a good opportunity to meet Walker in a comfortable setting. They exchanged glances. What kind of business associates? Dad asked carefully. Oh, just some people I've been talking to about investment opportunities. I smiled. You'll want to meet them, I'm sure. They agreed eagerly, exactly as I knew they would. As we said goodbye, my mother hugged me, whispering, we're so glad to have you back, darling. I hugged her back, thinking of the conversation I'd overheard, of the lawyer they'd brought, of 8 years of silence. Me too, Mom, I said. Everything's going to be exactly as it should be. Walking to my car, I called Penelope. Contact Valerie at the social services office. Tell her Operation Karma is a go. You're sure? She asked. I thought of the documents Xerxes had brought, the plans they'd made for my money, the way they still hadn't asked a single real question about Walker. Oh, yes, I said. I'm very sure. A charity for single mothers. Valerie leaned forward across her desk, her eyes sparkling. And you want to start with a $10 million endowment. Initially, I said, watching her expression shift from excitement to disbelief. We'll expand based on need and impact. This could help so many families, she breathed, already pulling up statistics on her computer. Housing assistance, childcare programs, educational support. Penelope, sitting beside me, squeezed my hand. Tell her the best part. We're announcing it next Friday, I said, at a gathering where my parents will be present. Valerie looked up sharply. The same parents who abandoned you for being a single mom. Yes, I smiled. I want them there when I publicly pledge to support everything they condemned. That's deliciously petty, Valerie grinned. I'm in. We spent the next hour outlining programs and structures. Valerie knew the system inside and out, where the gaps were, which families needed the most help, how to make the biggest impact. My phone buzzed repeatedly during the meeting, texts from my mother about dinner preferences, about Walker's favorite toys, about investment opportunities she and Dad had researched. They're love bombing you, Penelope said as we left Valerie's office. Classic manipulation tactic. I know, I showed her the latest message. Your father's friend has an amazing real estate opportunity. Time sensitive. Can we discuss? They're getting desperate, Penelope observed. How much have you told them about your actual plans for the money? Nothing. They just assume I'll hand everything over to their experienced management. Back home, Walker was doing homework with his after-school sitter. He looked up as I entered. Mom, did you see Grandma's message? She wants to buy me a gaming system. I sat beside him. Honey, we need to talk about Grandma and Grandpa. Are they coming to your party? Yes, but I searched for the right words. Sometimes people act nice because they want something, not because they've changed. He considered this, his 8-year-old face serious. Like when Tommy only shares his snacks when he wants to play with my toys. Exactly like that. I hugged him close. I need you to trust me about this, okay? I trust you, Mom. He hugged me back. Can we still get a dog, though? Later that evening, Alec came by to review the charity paperwork. The anonymous donation has already been processed, he confirmed. It'll hit the news cycle tomorrow. How long until they figure out it was me? I asked. Given the amount and timing, your parents will know immediately. He shuffled some papers. Are you ready for their reaction? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Mom's number. Julia, she sounded breathless. Did you see the news? Someone just donated $10 million to help people. Like, you used to be. It wasn't, was it? I saw that. I said neutrally. Wonderful news for struggling families, isn't it? But darling, that money could have been invested. Think of the returns we could have. She backpedaled quickly. I just meant as a family, we should discuss these decisions. Your father and I have experience. Mom, I interrupted. I need to go. Walker needs help with his homework. After hanging up, I turned to Alec. How's the media strategy looking? He checked his tablet. Press release goes out Monday. Local news is already interested in the human interest angle, successful doctor giving back to the community. We can do interviews Thursday, right before your gathering. Perfect. I looked at the charity mission statement, proudly displayed on top of the stack. Asterisk supporting single parents. Breaking cycles of judgment. Asterisk, my phone buzzed again. Dad, this time, we need to talk about your financial decisions. This isn't what we discussed. We never discussed anything, I muttered. You okay? Penelope asked, returning from putting Walker to bed. Just thinking about Friday, about finally showing them who I've become without them. And who's that? I showed her my draft response to the press release. As someone who faced judgment and abandonment for being a single mother, I know firsthand how crucial support can be. This foundation isn't just about financial aid. It's about changing perceptions and breaking down the stigma that too many single parents face. That's who? I said. Someone who turns pain into purpose. Penelope read it twice, then looked at me with tears in her eyes. They have no idea what's coming, do they? No, I said, thinking of the carefully laid plans, the press invitations, the stories I'd document, the truth I'd finally speak. But they will. My phone lit up with another message from Mom. We're just worried about you, darling. Let us help. I didn't reply. Friday would be my response to everything. The local news interview aired Thursday morning. By Thursday afternoon, my parents had called 17 times. You look beautiful on TV, Mom gushed when I finally answered, though perhaps a bit casual for such an important announcement. I have this lovely designer. Did you hear what I said in the interview? I cut in about why I started the foundation. Oh, yes, very charitable. But darling, announcing it without consulting us first. Why would I consult you? A pause. Well, we're family. And with our business experience. Are you coming tomorrow? I interrupted again. Of course. Your father's been talking about nothing else. He's bringing some investment proposals. Great, I said. See you then. The gathering was at a recently renovated community center, the first project my foundation had funded. As guests arrived, I watched my parents take in the reporters, the social workers, the group of single mothers Valerie had invited. Julia, Dad hissed, pulling me aside. What is all this? We thought this was a private family meeting. Funny, I don't remember saying that. Before he could respond, the center director called for everyone's attention. Mom grabbed my arm. Darling, perhaps we should discuss things before any announcements. Ladies and gentlemen, the director continued, please welcome Dr. Julia, founder of the Breaking Cycles Foundation. Applause erupted. I gently removed my mother's hand and walked to the podium. 8 years ago, I was disowned by my family for choosing to be a single mother. I heard my mother's sharp intake of breath. I was told I was throwing my life away, that I would fail, that no one would respect me. I paused, meeting their eyes in the crowd. They were wrong. Julia. Dad started to stand, but Xerxes pulled him back down. Today, I'm a successful doctor, raising an amazing son. And I'm using my lottery winnings, all of them, to ensure no other single parent faces the discrimination and abandonment I did. Cameras flashed. My parents sat frozen. The Breaking Cycles Foundation will provide housing assistance, child care support, educational grants, and most importantly, a community that supports rather than shames single parents. More applause. I saw Penelope wiping tears, Walker beaming proudly beside her. And to kick off our mission, I'd like to introduce some people. I gestured to the side. These are the first 10 recipients of our housing grants. Each of them has a story similar to mine. Each of them has faced judgment, abandonment, and struggle, and each of them is proving, just like I did, that single parents are capable of extraordinary things. The recipients stood, some holding their children, all receiving thunderous applause. My mother's face had gone pale. Questions? I asked the crowd. A reporter stood. Dr. Julia, your parents are here today. How do they feel about your foundation? I smiled sweetly. Why do we ask them? All eyes turned to my parents. Dad stood abruptly. This is ridiculous, he snapped. You're making a spectacle of private family matters. We came here to discuss business opportunities, to discuss controlling my money, I corrected, just like you tried to control my life. We were protecting you. No, I said firmly. You were protecting your reputation, your traditional values, your control. And now you're here for my money, not for me or Walker. Mom burst into tears, perfectly timed, perfectly dramatic. How can you say such things? We're your parents. Penelope stood up. Parents don't abandon their children. Parents don't ignore their grandchild for 8 years. Parents don't show up with lawyers and investment schemes only after their daughter wins the lottery. The reporters were scribbling frantically. Xerxes tried to intervene. Perhaps we should take this discussion private. No, I said, no more hiding, no more shame. Every dollar I won is going to help people who faced what I faced to show them they're not alone, and they're not wrong for choosing to be single parents. Dad's face had turned purple. You ungrateful. Security. I called calmly. Please escort my parents out if they can't maintain composure. As they were led away, Mom turned back. You'll regret this. You're making a huge mistake. No, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. My only mistake was spending 8 years hoping you'd love me more than you loved your prejudices. After they left, the event continued. I met with grant recipients, gave interviews, watched Walker play with other children who understood exactly what it meant to have absent grandparents. My phone buzzed with a text from Xerxes. Your parents want to discuss damage control. I typed back, nothing to discuss. The truth isn't damage, it's freedom. Looking around at the community I'd built, the lives I was helping change, I finally felt free, free of their judgment, free of hoping for their approval, free to be exactly who I'd become without them. And it felt better than any revenge could have. The morning after the foundation launch, my mother showed up at my apartment unannounced. Her designer handbag was clutched tight against her chest like armor. "Your father doesn't know I'm here," she said when I opened the door. "Does it matter?" I stepped aside to let her in. "Coffee." She perched on the edge of my couch, looking around the modest apartment. "You could live somewhere so much nicer now." "We're moving next month," I replied. "A house near Walker's school." I handed her a mug. "But that's not why you're here." "No." She took a shaky breath. "What you did yesterday, the publicity. Do you have any idea what this will do to our reputation in the community?" "Your reputation?" I laughed. "That's what you're worried about. People are talking, Julia, the country club, the church. Is Grandma crying?" Walker appeared in the hallway, backpack ready for school. Mom startled, as if she'd forgotten he existed beyond a concept. "Walker, I brought you something." She pulled out a wrapped package. "No thanks," he said quietly, moving closer to me. "Mom says we shouldn't accept gifts from people who only want to be nice when it's convenient for them." Mom's face crumpled. "That's not. I'm your grandmother, aren't I?" Walker asked, "Because my friend Tommy's grandmother comes to his baseball games and helps with school projects. You just showed up when Mom got money." I put my hand on his shoulder, proud and heartbroken at how clearly he saw the situation. "Time for school, buddy. Penelope's waiting to walk you." After he left, Mom dabbed at her eyes with an expensive handkerchief. "You've turned him against us." "No," I said firmly. "You did that yourself. 8 years of birthdays, Christmases, school plays. Where were you?" "We were hurt. You defied everything I had a baby." I slammed my coffee mug down. "I didn't commit a crime. I didn't hurt anyone. I chose to be a mother, to work hard, to succeed despite you telling me I couldn't. And now you're punishing us." "Punishing you?" I gestured around. "I built a foundation to help others, to turn what you did to me into something positive. That's not punishment. It's growth." My phone buzzed, a text from Valerie. 3 more news stations wanted interviews. The story was going national. Mom saw the message. "You can still fix this. We can release a joint statement. Say it was all a misunderstanding. Get out." "Julia!" I stood up. "Get out. You still don't get it. This isn't about you anymore. It's about every other parent who's been shamed, abandoned, or judged for their choices. It's about breaking the cycle of conditional love that you taught me." She stood too, straightening her designer jacket. "You'll regret this. Your father, he has connections. He can make things difficult. Is that a threat? It's a warning from a mother who loves you." I opened the door. "No, a mother who loves me would have been there when I was scared and alone, would have held her grandson when he was born, would have celebrated my graduation from medical school instead of pretending I didn't exist. Julia, please, goodbye, Mom." After she left, Penelope came over. She'd heard everything from next door. "You okay?" "No," I showed her my shaking hands. "But I will be. Your mom's right about one thing," she said. "Your dad's going to retaliate. I know his type. Let him try." I picked up my phone as it buzzed again. Another interview request. The truth is already out there. Penelope sat beside me. "You know what's funny? My parents did the same thing when I got pregnant. Kicked me out. Said I was ruining my life. You never told me that. They called last week," she continued, "after your story hit the news. Wanted to reconnect. Asked if I needed money. What did you say? Told them to donate to your foundation if they really want to make amends." She smiled. They hung up. I hugged her tight. "We did okay, didn't we? Without them." We did amazing, she pulled back. And now we're helping others do the same. My phone rang, Dad's number. I declined the call and opened my email instead. Dozens of messages from single parents across the country sharing their stories, thanking me for speaking out. They can't hurt us anymore, I said, reading the messages. We're not alone. And we're not ashamed. No, Penelope agreed. We're just getting started. Another text from Valerie. Major talk show wants you and some grant recipients to speak next week. Ready to take this national. I thought of my mother's threats, my father's connections, their desperate attempts to control the narrative. Then I thought of Walker's words. People who only want to be nice when it's convenient for them. Yes, I replied. It's time everyone heard the whole story. The talk show's green room buzzed with nervous energy. 3 other single mothers sat with me, each selected by Valerie to share their stories. Sarah, kicked out at 16. Maria, widowed and shunned by her in-laws. Rebecca, who fled an abusive marriage. 2 minutes, a producer called. My phone lit up. Xerxes, your father insists on speaking with you before you go on air. Not happening. I texted back. He's here at the studio. I looked up sharply, and there he was, pushing past security with Mom and Xerxes trailing behind him. Julia, he demanded, stop this nonsense right now. The other mothers tensed. Security moved forward, but I held up my hand. Let him speak, I said. Let everyone hear exactly what he has to say. Dad straightened his tie. I've been calling all week. You're dragging our family name through the mud, making us look like monsters. You're doing that all by yourself, Maria muttered. Dad whirled on her. This doesn't concern you. Actually, I stood up. It concerns all of us. Every parent who's been told they're not good enough. Every child who's been denied grandparents because of pride and prejudice. We're going live in 60 seconds, the producer called. Julia, please. Mom stepped forward. We can fix this privately. As a family. We're not family, I said quietly. Family doesn't abandon each other. These women, I gestured to the other mothers, they're my family now. They understand what real support means. 30 seconds. Dad's face darkened. Last chance. Stop this or what? I challenged. You'll disown me? Ignore me? Already done that. You have no power here anymore. Security finally stepped in, escorting them to the audience area. As we took our places on stage, I saw them sitting in the front row, faces tight with anger. The host opened with my story, the lottery win, the foundation, the family drama. Then she turned to me. Your parents are here today, she said. Would you like to address them? I looked directly at them. 8 years ago, you told me I was bringing shame to our family by choosing to be a single mother. Today, I want to tell you what real shame is. The audience was silent. Shame is turning your back on your child when they need you most. Shame is missing your grandson's entire life because of pride. Shame is only wanting a relationship when money is involved. That's not true. Mom stood up. We loved you. You loved your reputation more. I countered. And now you're angry because I'm telling the truth about what you did. Dad jumped up. You ungrateful little. The rest of his words were bleeped by the censors. The host intervened. Sir, please sit down, or you'll be removed. Remove me? He thundered. Do you know who I am? I'll destroy this show. I'll destroy your foundation. Security moved in as he continued to shout threats. The cameras caught everything. His red face, my mother's tears, Xerxes trying desperately to control the situation. This, I said calmly into the sudden silence, this is exactly why we need to speak up. This is what so many single parents face. Control, manipulation, threats. But we're not victims anymore. We're survivors. We're success stories. The other mothers shared their stories next. With each one, I watched my parents shrink further into their seats, their carefully crafted image crumbling on national television. After the show, Valerie met us backstage, beaming. Donations are pouring in. Your father's outburst, better publicity than we could have bought. He'll try to retaliate. Penelope warned, joining us with Walker. Let him, I said, hugging my son. We've already won. Mom. Walker looked up at me. Are Grandma and Grandpa going to be mad forever? I knelt down to his level. Probably. But that's their choice. Just like supporting other families is ours. Good, he said firmly, because Tommy's mom needs help with his baseball uniform, and I told her about your foundation. I hugged him tighter, tears threatening. This was my legacy, not shame or silence, but strength and support. Not their conditional love, but a community built on understanding and acceptance. My phone buzzed one last time. Xerxes again. Your parents want to make a deal. I blocked his number without responding. We didn't need deals anymore. We had something better. We had truth. And this, I said, unlocking the door, is our new home. Walker ran inside, his footsteps echoing through the empty rooms. Penelope followed with a box labeled kitchen, while Maria and Sarah carried in bags of groceries for our moving day celebration. Mom, there's a treehouse. Walker's voice carried from the backyard. Perfect for homework club. Maria said, her own kids already racing to join Walker outside. The house wasn't massive or luxurious, just a comfortable 4-bedroom with a big yard in a good school district. But it was ours, paid in full, with plenty left for the foundation. Mail's already coming, Penelope said, picking up an envelope from the floor. Her face darkened. It's from your parents' lawyer. I took the letter, but didn't open it. Instead, I pinned it to the kitchen bulletin board, alongside the foundation's latest achievement, housing assistance for 50 single-parent families. Not today, I said. Today we celebrate. The doorbell rang. Valerie arrived with more volunteers from the foundation, carrying paint supplies and pizza. Soon the house filled with laughter and chatter as everyone picked rooms to paint. Did you see the news? Rebecca asked, rolling yellow paint onto Walker's bedroom wall. Your father's trying to start a competing foundation. Something about traditional family values. Let him, I said. Our waiting list is already 300 families long. There's plenty of need to go around. Miss Julia, Tommy, Walker's friend, poked his head in. My mom's here. She wants to talk to you in the living room. Tommy's mother, Janet, stood nervously. I'm sorry to crash your moving day, but I got evicted. Tommy's dad stopped paying child support, and say no more. I pulled out my phone. Maria, can you check if Unit 3B is still available at the new housing complex? Within an hour, Janet was crying happy tears over approved emergency housing paperwork, while Tommy and Walker planned which games they'd play during their next playdate. This is what they'll never understand, Penelope said quietly, watching the scene. It's not about money. It's about community. The letters stayed pinned to the bulletin board as we painted and unpacked, as we ordered more pizza, and the kids played tag in the backyard. As the sun set, and our little community celebrated not just a new home, but a new kind of family. Finally, after everyone left and Walker was asleep in his freshly painted room, I took down the letter. Inside was a formal proposal. They would publicly apologize if I agreed to redirect foundation funds into a family-managed trust. They would acknowledge Walker if I gave them board positions. They would forgive me if I followed their plans. The doorbell rang again. This time, my mother stood there, alone. Before you close the door, she said quickly, I came without your father knowing. Why? She held out a small photo album. I found these pictures of you from before. I thought Walker might want to see what his mother was like as a child. I took the album, but didn't invite her in. That's what you came to say. She hesitated. I watched you today. Through the window. All those people, those families, they love you. really love you. Yes, I said simply. They do. We loved you too, she whispered. We just didn't know how to show it without controlling it. I looked at the album, then at the letter in my other hand. Love shouldn't come with conditions, Mom. I know that now. She turned to leave, then stopped. Julia, you're a better mother than I ever was. After she left, I sat on the porch swing, looking at childhood photos I'd almost forgotten existed. Walker's sleepy voice came from behind me. Is that you, Mom? I pulled him onto my lap, showing him pictures of a little girl who still believed in unconditional love. Yeah, that's me. You look happy. I kissed his head. But I'm happier now. I took the lawyer letter and ripped it into tiny pieces, letting them flutter into the recycling bin. Then I took out my phone and typed a message to our foundation's board. Tomorrow we announce our expansion. Double the housing units. Triple the child care subsidies. Let's show them what real family values look like. Walker snuggled closer, yawning. Can Tommy stay over tomorrow? Of course. I rocked the swing gently, holding my son and my freedom and my peace all at once. That's what family does. The childhood photos showed what was lost, but looking around our new home, filled with paint smudges and pizza boxes and love without conditions, I saw everything I'd found instead. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're born into. Sometimes the hardest goodbye leads to the most beautiful hello. Sometimes losing everything is just the beginning of finding something better. What do you think? Have you ever had to choose between your family's expectations and your own happiness? How did you find the courage to stand firm? Share your stories in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please hit like and subscribe for more real-life lessons. Thank you for listening.